Hi, this is Shane with Seattle Software. Thanks for checking out our training series. We're going to have plenty of movies that will help you hopefully find some tips and tricks that you may not know in the software, whether you're a new user or a seasoned veteran. Maybe just a different way that you can do it, but also just to hopefully motivate you and give you sort of a little nudge saying, hey, check this out. This is a cool way to do it. This will help you out and get you into the software. So what we're going to talk about today is the duplicating events. We're going to talk about how to add new events into the show. Hopefully this is the time of year where you can use this feature, really where you're trying to populate the calendar for next year. We're going to go through a step-by-step through the Event Duplication Wizard. There's only 2 or 3 screens on the wizard. It's a really quick little wizard, but there's a lot you can do with it. And then lastly, we're going to look at some reports that make sense in regards to duplicating an event. So I'm going to pull up the existing event here. I simply, of course, just double-clicked on an event that's in the background. It pops up this event, the current event, the Exhibitor Show 2010. So on the event information module, you can see that the key dates, everything's going to work off of is the start date. So when we do the duplication wizard, it's all going to look at this start date here, 3/16. Of course, with the duplication wizard, you're going to be able to change that date. But notice that as much information as we put in here, we put in the city, the type, this business unit is going, this show is going to the marketing 100%, which means that 100% of the expenses are going to go to the marketing department. And then, of course, on a per line item basis, when you get to the budget and you get to the invoices, you can always change that allocation. But this is just set up so if you do nothing, it will automatically adopt that default when you enter an invoice or budget item. Of course, the venue, all this information will be transferred over. And then you can change it when you get into the duplicated event. The next thing you can look at is these tasks. I know some of you don't use this as religiously as you could, but it's great to have a punch list of things that you can do. There is, of course, templates that you can create. 10 by 10 regional might have a certain amount of tasks, and in this case, you just want to book the hotel reservation, let's say 45 days prior to the event. You want to be reminded 7 days prior to that due date, and then Carmen is usually in charge of it. And you can just go ahead and do all of the tasks in that same way. And then you can create new ones. So if I just click on this third one down here, there's nothing there. This is a new template. And then you just build the template the way that you would want to build it. Minus 21 days means I'm going to evaluate expenses 3 weeks after the show. Okay, so that's an example of how you can build one on the fly, or you can use an existing one. The reason why I alluded to that is because that duplication wizard that we're going to go over in a minute here, you can either take these existing tasks here, or you can say, I don't want to include any tasks from the 2010 show, and then when it duplicates this event, you can use the template library that I just showed you to add a separate template. So it doesn't have to, you don't have to use the ones that you did last year. You can use a preloaded or pre-set up template. So you can do either way. What ShowGo is going to do here is it's going to, when it duplicates this, if I do include the tasks on the within the wizard, it's going to look at the due date that's listed here and compare it to the show date. And as I'm going through this, I'm just noticing the sample data doesn't make a whole lot of sense because the show is 3/16 and then these dates are all after the show. So I guess disregard the sample data, but what it's going to do is it's going to look at the difference between these two dates. And then when I create the second show, it's going to make it all relative. So for example, if the show next year starts on 3/12, it's going to make these all 4 days sooner. So the due date's going to be 4 days sooner than they exist here, but it's for the 2012 show. I mean, sorry, for the 2011 show. The scheduling is the next spot that you really, I think it's pretty pivotal for most clients, that they want to list who's going to the show and when they arrive and depart. It's good for coordination. And of course, you can put in your different notes. The schedule, notice it's all filled out for the last show. Things are going to change, of course, when we duplicate it, and then things are going to change, I mean, for the next show, but you can duplicate everything over, and then you can tweak the information, maybe even switch out somebody that doesn't exist anymore, somebody that's no longer with the company. So those are options as well. And now looking at the financials, here's the summary tab. I'm going to go right away to the budget tab. One of the options in the wizard is going to say, do you want to copy everything over the last year's budget and create a budget for next year based on this actual budget? So what that's mentioning is this exact screen. So do you want the budget for next year to be 10-8-10 as well? Or the other option is it's going to look at the invoices. And it's going to say, do you want to look at how, do you want to make a budget for the second show based on this actual expenses of 13,699.75, or you can go plus or minus by some percentage points. So you can bump it up 8, 9, 10%, and it will create a budget for you for the second show based on the actual expenses bumped up 8, 9, 10%. Now, of course, the wizard is going to go through, and it's also going to copy over everything else. So marketing, inventory, return on objectives, notes and attachments. It's going to do all that. But I just want to highlight a couple of things that some of the core modules that people are using. So now to duplicate an event, Tools, Event Duplication Wizard. Click Next, and we talk about the source event and the destination event. The source is what you want to duplicate. So we're going to select that exhibitor show, and it tries to guess a name. What do you want to call it? Well, we'll call it the 2011 training, because we're doing the training movie right now. And then when do you want this show to begin? So notice that you can use this duplication wizard for any show, and you can duplicate from a source event to any destination event. It does not have to be the exhibitor show from 2010, 2011, 2012. It could be a similar show, a show that's similar in scope. And by that I mean if you have, let's say, a 20 by 20 booth and it goes around the country, and it goes to different associations, and it has not, they're disjointed. They have nothing to do with each other than you are taking this 20 by 20 booth. Well, you can use this duplication wizard for that type of event because you probably have similar freight costs. You have similar booth fees, perhaps. You send for a 20 by 20, maybe you send 4, 5, 6 people to the show. Whatever it might be, there's going to be some consistencies. So you can use this wizard for shows that are similar in scope as well as for shows that are the exact same show year after year. So that's why I was speaking about this where it says beginning date, because you can really begin this 3 months down the road, or it could be, of course, the show that's happening next year. So I'll say this is from the 21st through the 23rd in March, and then hit next. So this is the beauty of it. This is a simple one-page deal, and this will give you all of the different options that you can choose from. So under event information, do you want the general information? That's the information at the top of the screen within the event form. The booth information, the marketing statements, event notes and attachments. Well, I didn't go over notes and attachments and all that, so I'm going to go ahead and deselect these 3 things we didn't look at. And then it talks about tasks. If I want to use a task template that I've created, then I would not want to duplicate these tasks from last year, so I'd say none. Alternatively, you could say, I just want the tasks, and I'll go ahead and put in all the dates. Or I want the tasks and due dates. And this wizard is smart enough, as I mentioned earlier, that it's going to look at the date of the event from last year, look at when all of those tasks were due. Maybe they were due 30 days or 35 days or 45 days before the show. And then ShowGo is going to look at this new date at 3/21 in 2011 and back out all of the individual tasks, 30 days, 35 days, 45 days, whatever they are. So it's a smart wizard. It's going to do it in a smart way. And then, of course, you can go in and tweak it. Scheduling, do we want the same people and the same schedules? There's a lot of shows that really do have the same schedules. I know for this example, for this exhibitor show, it's always Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday. They have a meeting Monday night at 6 o'clock, like a meet and greet. The exhibit hours are 11:30 to 3:30 each day. Well, it's a great start. Right? Rather than having to type it in from scratch, use the wizard, copy everything over, and then you can delete things as you need them or edit things. and this is really, I think, the big time saver is this budget part. Do I want to just have the budget items from last year, and then I can put in the amounts? Do I want to use the actual expenses from last year as the new event's budget? Or do I want to use my actual expenses, but I want to increase or decrease by some percent? So I can say minus 5%, or I can say bump it up 10%. And here's the other options too: return on objectives, which we didn't go into, and inventory allocation. And that's it. These are just the options you have. You hit next and hit next again. Takes maybe 15 seconds. All that data is rolled over, but it does it in a smart way. And so one reason why I showed you the event originally, and I went through the original event form, was because I want to show you what it looks like now that we have the information rolled over. So here it is, the 2011 training. I'm going to double click there, and you can see there's already a budget for that. All this information was pulled over automatically just by editing that one screen. You're going to see this the 21st through the 23rd, Vegas, trade show type. All the stuff is the same. It's going to change, but go ahead and you can just make the change here instead of having to type everything over from scratch. The booth number, okay, that changed this year, and it's going to be in Hall C. Okay, but look how easy it is rather than starting from scratch. If I go to the task section, you can see all the same tasks that were listed last year are here. The due dates are all relative now to the 2011 show, and it reset all the status to not started and took out all the completed dates. And actually all the notes were taken out as well, because those are notes specific to what happened last year. So it's a smart wizard in that way. The scheduling, I didn't point it out prior, but before we had check marks here to see who confirmed for that show last year. Well, the wizard didn't bring them over because it doesn't make sense for them to already be registered or already be confirmed for a show that you're just putting into the system now. The arriving, departing dates are all relative to this as well. And again, I apologize about the sample data, but what happens is if Carmen normally shows up 2 days prior to the show, and she did for the exhibitor show of 2010, then Carmen is going to show up 2 days prior to this show coming, to the new show that we just entered. If I click on the schedule, all this stuff comes over automatically. You might want to change some of the names. The sales meeting is not happening at 8 o'clock. It's happening at 9 o'clock now, 9 to 10. So now we're just editing information instead of starting from scratch. The financials, here I've got a budget already in there for me. If I click on the budget, here's all this information, and what this is this represents the previous show's actual expenses, which I can look in the background here, and the actual expenses were $13,699, marked up 10%, and it's $15,535. Now I can come in here and say, well, the booth fee, that shouldn't have changed. That should still be $5,800 or whatever it might have been. And it's going to obviously change down here. So you can make your tweaks, but you're not starting from scratch, and that's the point. That's the point with ShowGo. Once you put the information there one time, whether it's an invoice or budget, personnel, tasks, the wizard will copy everything over for you. You don't have to put it in there again. But you can always get in there and still tweak the information as you need. Clicking on the invoice, well, there's no invoices because this is a show that we just entered, and that makes sense. I'm going to add one on the fly real quick. Add invoice, Mandalay Bay. Invoice came in a couple days ago. That's all that's required on invoices, just the top two fields. It's important to put the date in there. And then I'm going to say this is for the hotel. $350 a night times 4 nights. There we go. I'm going to save and close this event. So there we have it. That's the Event Duplication Wizard.